Hello, lovely people. I thought I would send you a quick video, and it's to answer one of the questions that people often ask, which is about the book, How to Remove Trauma Response, a memory reconsolidation guidebook for therapists and coaches. So one of the questions that I often get from people is, why have I included both? Because many books like mine are only aimed at therapists, or other books are only aimed at coaches. So why have I included both in here? So I thought I'd do a quick video that answered that very, very common question. So let's just add this so I can start scribbling. There's a few reasons really why therapists and coaches. But the first one is, what I'd like us to understand is that memory reconsolidation is the birthright of every person. We're all born with the ability, with the capacity to remove trauma. Memory reconsolidation is a brain mechanism, and we're all born with that brain mechanism, with brains that have that mechanism, basically. And so consequently, it belongs to all of us. Now, one of the things that implies, therefore, is that this isn't something that the therapist brings. You might have seen a recent video of mine talking about a trauma removal machine. Like, what would happen if a client came in with a trauma removal machine? And I gave that metaphor because everybody does, every client does. So memory reconsolidation isn't so much what we bring as the helper, but what the client arrives with, what the client is born with, that they already have this capacity, as do we. So when I look at you'll notice in the book, I talk a lot about the core equation of memory consolidation, the core formula, if you like. This describes very well what it is that the brain needs in order to trigger that mechanism and thereby remove the trauma response. The first is to activate and then mismatch. So we activate the old that is keeping the problem alive, and then we create a mismatch experience that basically generates a prediction error. And that's the other way to think about it. We bring to life the kind of emotional truth, the prediction that the client is operating from on autopilot, and we allow them to have an experience that generates a prediction error. And then we repeat that juxtaposition between the old and the new. We keep kind of having this activation plus mismatch. These steps keep repeating together. And it's in that repeat that everything is overwritten. And so you'll notice here that the core formula of memory consolidation is activate plus mismatch plus repeat. It's not activate plus mismatch plus your therapy qualification plus repeat. Your education has got nothing at all to do with it. The brain doesn't check where you went to school, how long you study for, or anything like that. And so by including helpers who are not therapists, it's a lot truer to these three steps: activate plus mismatch plus repeat. And also, a question I was asked by somebody very recently by email: is this something that one can do yourself? Well, once again, it's not dependent on a therapist. It's not even dependent on a coach. the ingredients are these steps that the brain needs to activate the old, provide this prediction error mismatch experience, and then keep bumping up those two steps together until the overwrite is happening. So that means that a therapist can do it, a coach can do it, and you theoretically can do it as well. Now, it can be harder to do this alone, but nonetheless, it is actually possible. And the final reason why I made it more inclusive than just therapists is just that some of the stuff that therapists are using was actually created by coaches. So one of the things I'm thinking of here is the rewind technique, used now by a lot of therapists who are trained, say, in human givens, other therapists who are trained by people who specialize in training in the rewind technique. But actually, this started off as a method that was initially used by NLP coaches. Now, by knowing this formula of activate plus mismatch and repeat, what it allows me to do is to be able to look around at the approaches that are out there, some of which come from the therapy community, some of which come from the coaching community, and just notice which of them do this and which of them therefore generate transformative change. So not where you have to manage the trauma, but where it's gone. And what I notice is that very often I'm quite happy to look at what coaches are coming up with, especially those coaches who kind of intuit and use the body more. And I noticed that there are a number of coaches out there who are doing things that, on the face of it at least, require further discovery and exploration, because they seem to be getting the transformative change. There is a landmark, if you like, of memory reconsolidation, and they also be seeming to be activating and mismatching in terms of the work that they do. And so, just to give you a quick summary, the reason why I'm much more inclusive in terms of the title of this book, you know, it's a memory reconsolidation guidebook for therapists and coaches, is, first of all, it belongs to everybody, not just therapists. So the client brings that capacity rather than gets it from the therapist. So they bring that capacity. The core formula is just about the steps that the brain needs. And the brain doesn't ask for what qualifications or education are involved there. That therefore it means that therapists can help to trigger it, coaches can help to trigger it, and we can even do it, even though it can be a little bit more difficult, I think, just because we're having to be facilitator and receiver at the same time, but we can actually do that independently ourselves. And then, of course, coaches and therapists, communities have both been useful at developing some of the techniques which in practice do trigger memory reconsolidation. So I hope that's helpful and clarifies why I gave the book the subtitle that I did. And if you've got any further questions, just give me a shout down below. Take care. Bye.